Did you know that falls cause more injuries in seniors than any other kind of accident? In fact, falls account for 88% of hip fracture hospitalizations. They're also the most common cause of traumatic brain injuries. Now, there are a lot of factors that can increase a senior's risk of having a dangerous fall. One big one is the setup of their living space. In this video, I'm going to shine a spotlight on some of the common culprits of senior falls while giving you my top tips for preventing them. By the end of the video, you'll be able to create your own home safety checklist, which you can use to evaluate your loved one's home or even your own. If you haven't met me yet in any of our other videos, which you can find on our channel, I'm Grace, and I'm with The Place for Mom. I help create articles, tools, and other resources seniors and their families can use to make decisions about senior living and senior care options. Aging has quite an impact on the body. The effects of aging may include reduced bone density, joint health, and most of all, mobility. Think back to being a kid. It probably wasn't that hard to reach down and touch your toes, whereas now, maybe you can still do it, but it's probably not as easy. As a person ages, their mobility declines, which makes it hard to lift their feet or step over uneven surfaces, causing something you may hear called the senior shuffle. This refers to the walking style a lot of seniors use, where they slide their feet on the floor instead of lifting their foot with each step. While not ideal, this can help a person control their walk better and stay balanced. So for you, rugs or cords are hardly a consideration when walking through your home. But for a senior, these common household items can become obstacles and therefore major culprits for a fall. That's why my first tip is to evaluate and remove any tripping hazards. Home tripping hazards are anything that would disturb walking. This includes rugs, slick flooring, low tables, and electrical cords. And keep in mind that tripping hazards aren't limited to the inside of a senior's home. Driveway cracks, overgrown vegetation, rocks, and tree roots may create dangerous obstacles for seniors navigating the space outside their home. To evaluate a home for tripping hazards, you'll want to scan each room or common area and think about how your loved one navigates these different spaces. Create clear paths, and remember, even small obstacles have the potential to trigger a fall. Let's move to tip number 2. Imagine the inside of a ballet studio. One of the details that probably comes to mind is that horizontal wooden bar along the walls where dancers warm up. Or when walking up a flight of stairs, I'm sure you've used a handrail. These are forms of grab bars, which help with balance and stability. One place where balance is particularly important for seniors is the bathroom. We've already talked about how a person's mobility declines with age, but you should also know that strength can decline too, which can affect how much effort it takes to stand up after toileting or bathing. Combine decreased strength, loss of balance, and reduced mobility while attempting to get out of the bathtub, and you have a recipe for a fall. That's why my second tip is to install grab bars. You can install grab bars at different heights, both vertically and horizontally, to give a loved one options when navigating this kind of space. A bathroom is usually the best place to start with grab bars because toilets and bathtubs are pretty low to the ground and flooring can become slippery. But grab bars don't have to be limited to the bathroom. They can be installed throughout a senior's home. If your loved one has problems with balance or mobility in other parts of their home, consider installing grab bars in hallways, kitchens, and their bedroom. Removing trip hazards and installing grab bars are probably the most obvious ways to improve home safety for a loved one. But this next tip is a bit more subtle, so much so that you may not even realize how it can affect the safety of a loved one's home. Mobility and strength aren't the only abilities that decline with age. The senses do too. As your parents age, you've probably noticed them holding the newspaper closer to their face or squinting to read signs or billboards. Sight is one of the first senses affected by age, and often navigating dark spaces or areas where textures and patterns blend together can be particularly difficult for seniors. That's why my third tip is to install what I like to call helper lighting. Simply put, helper lighting is the strategic brightening of areas of a house that don't get a lot of natural light, or spaces where light from the existing interior lights doesn't quite reach. For example, helper lighting can highlight corners and thresholds and emphasize the height and depth of stairs. If you spent any time watching TV in the 90s or early 2000s, you probably remember the clapper, which was a hands-free light you could turn on by clapping your hands. The commercials were silly, but the idea is quite useful. No need to fumble around in the dark trying to find that light switch. Just clap and voila, the lights come on. While you can still get your hands on a clapper, technology has improved a bit with automatic lights. This is another tool that can better the lighting in your loved one's home by automatically activating lights when someone enters a space. Consider adding automatic lights to dark areas of your loved one's house, like bathrooms, hallways, pantries, and closets. All right, we have one more tip, and then we'll go over the areas you should have on your home safety checklist. Before we finish up, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and like this video. And if you have any stories to share with other caregivers or want to share your own tips, don't forget to drop them in the comments section. While all these tips have been geared toward preventing a fall, this one comes in handy if a fall does occur. For caregivers or younger adults, tripping over a step or slipping on a wet spot might result in a bruised ego or a couple of scrapes. You slip, you gotta shake your head, but then you stand up, you brush yourself off. That's usually not the reality for a senior who's taken a fall. The injuries they face can be much more serious. That's why it's important for seniors to have access to help wherever they are in the home. The last thing you want is for a loved one to take a fall somewhere out of reach of the phone. That's why my last tip is to incorporate some sort of smart device that allows a loved one to call for help. There are a lot of options when it comes to smart devices. If you want something with multiple uses, Amazon's Alexa allows someone to call for help in addition to controlling lights or other electronics or playing music. There are some smart devices that can call for help automatically when a fall is detected, like one of the Garmin watches featured in our Best Gifts video earlier this year. You can also find devices specific to senior safety, such as those emergency pendants that are worn like a necklace and have an emergency call button. Now that we've talked through my top tips for reducing fall risks, let's cover some key things to have on your home safety checklist. Some of these will be geared toward preventing falls, while others will aim to increase overall safety for seniors who live alone. You can make your own, or if you want something that's ready to go, we have our checklist linked below in the description. Your home safety checklist should include the 5 major living areas: the kitchen, bathroom, living room, bedroom, and outdoors. You'll want to evaluate all of these places for tripping hazards. Then decide if you need to add additional lighting or grab bars. In the kitchen, you should consider moving frequently used tools to easy to reach places in addition to pull-down shelves. For fire safety, you should move anything that would spread flames, like paper towels, curtains, or other fire hazards, away from the stovetop. If your loved one is experiencing forgetfulness, you can also install auto shutoff timers for ovens or stoves. One last thing to consider for the kitchen area is to remove any loose knives by making sure they have a nice comfy home and a knife block. In the bathroom, adding a shower bench and raised toilet seat can alleviate some of the challenges associated with decreased mobility. You could also consider a walk-in tub or shower so that a senior doesn't have to navigate around any obstacles when trying to get in and out. And finally, non-slip flooring in the shower or on the bathroom floor itself can allow for better grip in a place that's prone to slipping. For the bedroom, in addition to grab bars and helper lighting, you'll also want to take a look at bed height. If a bed is too low or too high, it can put a lot of strain on a senior's body and can even lead to a fall if they're having to climb up or down. You also might add a chair near their dresser or closet that allows them to sit while dressing, since all of those movements can knock someone off balance. If your loved one spends a lot of time in the living room, look into raised seating or automatic rising recliners. You could also install raised outlets to minimize the need to bend over when plugging something in. I also recommend walking the same path your loved one walks and adjusting the placement of furniture. And like I mentioned earlier, home safety is not confined to the indoors. Make sure to fill in any holes or remove large rocks if you believe they'll cause a fall. My poor husband once tripped in a gopher hole at my parents' house, and he was out for 6 weeks, and he was a 50-year-old man. Imagine what that would do to a senior. In the winter, you can also incorporate some snow melting mats to reduce the risk of slips from ice. And one last thing to consider is to hide an emergency key in case you, other family, or emergency services need to get inside. You hear it all the time. Knowledge is power. Now that you know what to look for, I hope you feel better equipped to recommend or make adjustments to your loved one's surroundings. And with the home safety checklist, you'll have a handy guide to refer to. If you have any questions or tips for us or fellow caregivers, please drop those in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. And if you're looking for more resources on caregiving or senior care options, visit our website at aplaceformom.com. See you next time.